51. Today we are going to be talking about how to research information that we need to find in order to complete an assignment or one of our jobs as a third grader. And so here we're going to go ahead, we are going to do a practice together, and I'm going to model for you what my expectations are for you when you are doing your research. And so here I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to leave up my assignment. This is my assignment about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I'm going to leave my assignment up on one tab so that way I don't have to worry about going back later or copying down the information on a piece of paper. If I leave this tab open, I can just quickly go back and forth. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to come up here to the plus sign and open up a new tab. We've practiced this skill before at the beginning of the school year. And so this way I can go ahead and I can do my research in this separate tab. So I'm going to go back to my research job. And I'm going to look at my first question. My first question says, who was Ruth Bader Ginsburg? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to come back to my new tab, and I'm going to type in the Google search bar. And you can see I already started to write it. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to say, who was Ruth Bader Ginsburg? And I'm going to type in third grade. And when I type in third grade, it's going to make sure that the information that pops up is appropriate for me. Although Miss Walsh is not a third grader, I'm pretending like I am right now. So you are going to go ahead at the end of your questions, you're going to type in third grade so you know that the material that's going to pop up is appropriate for you and it's appropriate for your reading level. So go ahead and do that. And you can see right here we have Scholastic, which we know is a great resource, and it's a reliable source. I want to talk about reliability. If I go ahead and I scroll down, the more I scroll down, the less likely that these are going to be helpful information. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to stick up here to this top where it says Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Scholastic, because I know Scholastic is a reliable source. Reliable meaning that they're not going to give me opinions or they're just going to give me facts that they haven't checked. I know the information here is good and it's been checked. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click it. And I can see up here it tells me what grades that this is appropriate for, and third grade being one of those. And so I'm going to go ahead, I am going to look for the information, I'm going to read the information, and I'm going to apply it and take it and transfer it over to my research practice. Now what's most important is I'm not going to just copy and paste, right? I'm not going to just come back over here and go, oh, yep, and take directly from the source, because that is called plagiarism. Please go ahead and say plagiarism for me. Plagiarism. And what plagiarism is when you steal someone else's words. Now, you might not be doing this to, be malicious or with bad intent, but when you do take words, it's a big no-no. And you can actually get in really big trouble. Miss Walsh actually went to school with a girl in college who got in trouble for plagiarizing, taking other people's words, and she got kicked out of school. So it's a really big deal. So we're going to make sure that we are really careful and we do not take directly from the source. We are going to use our own words. We are going to do what's called paraphrasing. Go ahead and say paraphrasing for me. And paraphrasing is when you take a sentence and you take the same idea that they're talking about and you rewrite it in your own words. And so we're going to go ahead, we're going to look, and we're going to read this article. So it says, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Associate Justice, was born in Brooklyn, New York, March 15th, 1933. She married Martin D. Ginsburg in 1954 and has a daughter, Jane, and a son, James. She received her BA, or Bachelor of Arts, from Cornell University, attended Harvard Law School, and received her LLB from Columbia Law School. She served as a law clerk to the Honorable Edmund L. Peremy, Judge of the United States District Court for the Southern District of New York from 1959 to 1961. From 1961 to 1963, she was a research associate and then associate director of the Columbia Law School Project on International Procedure. She was a professor of law at Rutgers University School of Law from 1963 to 1972. in Columbia Law School from 1972 to 1980, and a fellow at the Center for Advanced Study in the Behavioral Sciences in Stanford, California from 1977 to 1978. In 1971, she was instrumental in launching the Women's Rights Project of the American Civil Liberties Union and served as the ACLU's General Counsel from 1973 to 1980, and on the National Board of Directors from 1974 to 1980. She was appointed a judge of the United States Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia Circuit in 1980. President Clinton nominated her as an associate judge of the Supreme Court in 1993, and she took her seat August 10th, 1993. Whoa, so we were given a lot of information there, and I don't want to just regurgitate. When I say regurgitate, it's just like take everything here and just stick it on my paper. I don't want to do that. So I want to kind of summarize and take pieces of this and apply it to my answer. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go now back to my research practice, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type what I know about Ruth Bader Ginsburg based off that article I read. So I'm going to say Ruth Bader Ginsburg is an accomplished lawyer and professor. She is most known for being a judge on the Supreme Court. And so there you go. I took all that information for being a judge on the Supreme Court. So I took all that information. You can see there was a lot of information here. And I quickly took that information and I made 2 sentences out of it. Do I expect your answers to these questions to be like paragraphs long? No, not necessarily. Unless I tell you so, I do not expect that. But I went ahead and I answered the question in complete sentences. And so, the question was, who was Ruth Bader Ginsburg? I said, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is... So I went ahead and I restated the question as well, which is extremely important when we are doing research. We want to make sure we restate the question so our reader knows exactly what we're talking about and what we're referring to. So now we're going to go ahead, we are going to go to number 2, and it says, what did Ruth Bader Ginsburg accomplish / what impact did she make? So now I'm going to go back to my tab. I'm going to go ahead and press the back button, so it'll take me straight to my Google, and I'm going to keep the 3rd grade here because I want to make sure that, again, I'm getting content that is appropriate for me. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say, what impact did Ruth Bader Ginsburg make? And so again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to see information that is only not credible, but then we also are making sure that it's appropriate for us. And we can see actually that we're given a lot of really great resources. I will tell you, if you see information where it says .org, it's not going to be as reliable. So make sure you're looking at these websites. If it says .org, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be as reliable as other sources. It doesn't mean that it's not completely credible, but it's not the best resource. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep looking. So we have history.com, and that is an incredibly reliable source. We have Scholastic, which we've already read that article. See, we have another .org, so I'm not going to go ahead and really look at that one. We have NewYorkTimes.com, which again is a really credible source. Britannica, another great source. And then Biography.com, which again is a really incredible source. And we also see some news outlets, and those are going to be really incredibly important. And so I'm going to go ahead, I am going to click the history one because that one's the first one to pop up, and again, I know that is a credible source. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to do what's called scanning or Oops, my computer's moving a little slow. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna scan the article. I'm not gonna sit here and read everything, right? So what I'm gonna do is I'm looking really quickly for important information that sticks out. So I'm looking for keywords. I'm not worried necessarily about making sure I read all the information, because I can look, just looking at this, I know it's giving me background information, and that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for her impact. And so I can see right here with this heading or this subtitle, it's talking about her early life, and that's not something I'm looking for. I'm looking for her legacy. And so here I can see it says arguing for gender equality. So I might come back to this because it might be something really important. Here it talks about on the Supreme Court. And so again, I might want to come back to that. And then, oh my goodness, well, I'm happy that I kept looking. And oops, I have a video. Every active register. That sometimes happens too. And so it's really important when you see all these like ads and videos that you're really not paying attention to them, because sometimes they can be distractions. And so we're looking for legacy. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to go back down to where it said legacy. And we can see that there's so much information here, and this is exactly what I needed. So I went ahead and I saved myself so much time for my research, because I went ahead and I was looking for specific keywords, and legacy was one of those keywords I was looking for. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read. So, despite her reputation for restrained writing, she gathered considerable attention for her dissenting, meaning disagreeing, opinion in the case of Bush versus Gore, which effectively decided the 2000 presidential election between George W. Bush and Al Gore. Objecting to the court's majority opinion favoring Bush, Ginsburg deliberately and subtly concluded her decision with the words, "I dissent," a significant departure from the tradition of including an adverb, respectfully. She continues to promote women's rights from the High Court and will undoubtedly play a pivotal role in many controversial cases in the future. On June 27, 2010, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's husband, Martin, died of cancer. She described Martin as her biggest booster and the only young man I dated who cared that I had a brain. Married for 56 years as a couple, they were said to be quite different. Martin was gregarious, loved to entertain and tell jokes, while Ruth was serious, soft-spoken, and shy. Martin provided a reason for their successful union. "My wife doesn't give me any advice about cooking, and I don't give her any advice about the law." After 27 years serving as a justice on the Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg died on September 18, 2020, due to complications from metastatic pancreas cancer. And so we can see that they give us a lot of information here. And one of the biggest things, again, I'm going to pull information, her legacy really being her dissenting opinion in the case Bush versus Gore, her changing kind of the verbiage with her decision, kind of making, instead of saying, "I dissent respectfully," she just said, "I dissent, I disagree," and which is really, really big deal. And then she also went ahead and she's really been fighting for women's rights, which was something that was really important because for quite a while women weren't considered equal, and there are still issues today with women not being considered equal to men. And so she's been fighting for that, and she's in this position of power that allowed her to do so. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to go back to my research practice, and it said, what did Ruth Bader Ginsburg accomplish / what impact did she make? So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to restate the question. Ruth Bader Ginsburg accomplished many things. So I went ahead and I restated the question so they know what I'm referring to, my reader. Ruth Bader Ginsburg accomplished many things. One of her most famous accomplishments, or one of her most famous moments on the Supreme Court was when she dissented in the case of Bush versus Gore. While on the Supreme Court, Ruth Bader Ginsburg continued to fight for women's rights. And so I went ahead, again, as you can see, I restated the question, but then I also paraphrased, meaning I didn't copy word for word what they had written on that article, and that's going to be really important. And when I'm looking at your guys' research, I'm going to be checking for that. It's really easy for me to find out if you guys copied and pasted, so make sure that you are using your own words. And when I mean paraphrase, I mean more than just changing one or two words. If you just switch one or two words around, that's not the same thing. You need to make sure that you are using your own words to make sure that it's your work. All right, and now we're on our last question, and it's asking us to write 2 fun facts we learned about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And so I'm actually going to go ahead, I'm going to go back to my tab, and I'm going to type in up here, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type in fun facts about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. And again, 3rd grade, so that way I'm making sure information that pops up is appropriate. And so you can see that I am given some information. So I'm giving CNN, which I know is a news source. I'm also going to see right here, though, that it was written in 2013, so I know it's not the most current article. So I'm going to keep it right there. Maybe not use it. We'll see. Ooh, and I can see right here, Britannica. Remember, we talked about how that was a really reliable source, so I think I'm going to go ahead and click this one. Britannica is an encyclopedia, and an encyclopedia is a great resource that has lots of information for us to look at. And I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to close out of all these tabs because they're distracting me, and I don't want those distractions. If you have a video that you know is appropriate to the subject that you are talking about, that would be totally okay to watch, but just making sure that it is something that's going to help you answer your questions. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to look for facts. I'm going to look for quick facts to see if they have it, because they said that they had some facts, and so I wanted to see if they had quick facts for me, so I could save myself some time. And I'm looking. Oh my goodness, they have lots here. And it doesn't look like they really have fast facts, which I was kind of hoping that they would, which again, oops, and oh my goodness, this is a great learning tool, because if I go up to the top, I can see it says article, and article means that it's going to be these paragraphs, but then if I look right over here, it says facts and data, that header, and so this is a great example of how you should be really mindful and looking to see if where you might find something, because the headers might not be as prominent as they were in the last article, so they might be up here and kind of a little hidden, so be sure to look out. And so you can see right here some little fun facts they have about her, and they organized it really nicely for us. And so they had told us some of her published works, what roles she had, her titles, awards that she received, where she taught, about her family, did you know, and they also tell us what she's also known as. And so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to talk about this because I think this is really interesting. She's referred to as the notorious RBG, and so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to write that as one of my facts. And so I'm going to say, one fact I learned, because again, I'm restating the question, one fact I learned about Ruth Bader Ginsburg is that she was also referred to as the notorious RBG. And that's something that was really cool and interesting for me. And I'm going to go back to this tab, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to look right over here where it says, did you know? Because, again, I know it's going to tell me some really cool facts. And it says, Ginsburg was the second woman to serve on the Supreme Court. that is pretty cool information. She was only the second woman to serve on the Supreme Court. And again, her being someone that fought for women's rights, that's something that's really, really awesome and important. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say another fact, again, restating the question. I learned about Ruth Bader Ginsburg is that she was the second woman to serve on the Supreme Court. And again, when I went through, I'm making sure that I'm paraphrasing, restating the question, and I'm not directly taking from the source. And I'm going back and making sure I correct any spelling errors I made. And that's going to be it for our model for our research practice. And so your job today is going to be going ahead and you're going to be answering some questions about different explorers. And again, you are going to make sure when you are researching that you are typing in third grade at the end of your questions. You're typing in to make sure that you guys are looking at information that is appropriate for your grade level, content that is appropriate for you guys and your reading level. So again, typing in third grade at the end of your question and looking for reliable sources. And so yeah, that's going to be it for today. If you have questions about researching or resources, if you don't know if it's reliable or not, go ahead and send me a message so that way I can kind of help you guys out. And yeah, that's going to be it. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, D1.